My name is Daniel Hart. I'm 45 years old. It didn't happen at a party. There was no crowd to blur into, no music to muffle what was said. No one could say later that they misheard it. It wasn't one of those dramatic holiday moments you see in movies either. Just a Thursday night in March, in a rented house we were barely keeping clean. Dinner was burnt. The microwave had scorched the top of the lasagna, and Kaylee made a face when Aaron served it. Lucas had his earbuds in one ear, chewing without tasting. Aaron wore that fixed smile she always did when she was pretending everything was fine. We were surrounded by chipped dishes and a smell of garlic that didn't belong to any of us. The rented house on Elmsworth Road wasn't home. Not to them. Maybe not to me either. But I was the one paying for it, along with everything else. It was Kaylee who said it. She had her phone under the table. Her thumbs were tapping with the rhythm of someone who knew they wouldn't be told to stop. Then she grinned to herself, tilted her head toward her mom, and said loud enough for all of us to hear, "The real dad will love this." Everyone laughed. Not nervously. Not uncomfortably. No, it was real. Easy. Aaron even smiled. Like it was harmless. Like Kaylee had said something clever. Lucas chuckled into his fork. No one looked at me. Not one of them thought I might take that sentence differently. That it might land with weight. That it might draw a line I'd been pretending didn't exist. I didn't speak. Didn't even blink. I cut a piece of the crusted lasagna and chewed slowly. The taste was burnt, bitter, dry. Inside, I was running numbers. Not feelings. Numbers. I thought about the $228 I'd paid last month for Lucas's braces checkup. I thought about the $340 Aaron had asked to borrow for Kaylee's art tablet. The $700 auto-deduct for Lucas's leased car. I thought about Kaylee's school trip to D.C. The hotel, the airfare, the spending money, all from an account with my name on it and no one else's. I thought about the little things too. The data plans. The grocery bills. The subscription to Adobe Creative Cloud. The gas. The birthday decorations no one thanked me for. And I thought about the other sentence. The one Aaron had whispered 3 years ago during a fight we'd both agreed to forget. They just need time. I'd given them 5 years. 5 years of being Daniel instead of Dad. 5 years of showing up to parent-teacher conferences only to have the school assume I was an uncle. 5 years of being left off emergency contact forms, having to be reminded that their father might want to be consulted first. 5 years of shutting my mouth when Lucas muttered under his breath that my real dad wouldn't care if I skipped practice. 5 years of Kaylee leaving the room when I entered it, calling me by my first name like it tasted sour. But I stayed. I drove them to doctor's appointments in snowstorms. I patched walls when Lucas put his foot through the drywall in a tantrum. I worked late into the night just to afford the new laptop Kaylee needed for her digital design course. I even got them a dog. I thought maybe if there was something that belonged to all of us, it might change the air in the house. They named the dog Rusty. They called him theirs, not ours. Not once. That night at the table, I looked at Erin for just a second. I searched her face, waiting for her to say something, to correct Kaylee, to remind her that I was the one who'd been there, that jokes like that weren't fair. But Erin didn't say a word. She smiled, small, tight, reflexive, like she didn't want to ruin the mood. The silence afterward was louder than the laughter. I swallowed the last bite and stood to clear my plate. Kaylee was back on her phone before I'd left the room. Lucas was muttering something about YouTube. Erin asked if I wanted coffee. I said no. I went to the kitchen and stood at the sink, running the water hotter than it needed to be. My hands were shaking, though I didn't feel angry. It wasn't heat. It wasn't rage. It was something colder, a kind of detachment, like watching a machine finally break after years of hearing it stutter. I stared out the window at the brittle backyard. The swing set rusted from last year's rain. I'd assembled that swing set myself. Spent 4 hours in the cold hammering bolts into frozen ground. Kaylee had used it for 3 weeks before she got bored. I didn't sleep that night. Erin came to bed late. She didn't ask if I was awake. She didn't ask anything. We lay side by side, our backs not touching. She didn't bring up what Kaylee had said. Didn't ask how I felt. Maybe she thought it didn't matter. Maybe she hoped it would blow over like all the other cracks in this house. But something had shifted. Not because of the joke, but because of the laughter, because of how natural it was, because of how easy it was to forget what I'd done, what I'd given. I wasn't part of the joke. I was the punchline, and not one of them cared. So I started taking stock. Not of what I'd given, but of what had been taken. My name was never on the walls. No photos with me in the center. No Father's Day card with my name on it. I was the one who knew their blood types, but they didn't know mine. I was the one who bought their medicine, but they didn't ask if I ever got sick. I knew the name of Lucas's first crush. I knew Kaylee's allergies, but they didn't know what I did for a living, not really. They never asked. At most, I was tolerated. At worst, invisible. But they still lined up when the bills came due. Still sent Aaron with the questions. Still expected me to carry the weight. They didn't call me family, but they sure treated me like the foundation. That's the part that stung. I hadn't signed up to be loved. I wasn't that naive. But I had hoped for recognition, for effort, for some small sign that I mattered more than the receipts. But 5 years had passed. And in 5 years I'd been reduced to a line item, a necessary tool, a background figure. That night at the table, Kaylee's words weren't just a joke. They were the truth. Spoken out loud, in front of the only people who were supposed to matter, and no one flinched. The next morning was cold, dry, and full of that hollow Wisconsin light that never warms the skin. I woke before everyone else. I always did, not out of discipline, out of habit. There's a difference. Discipline is what you do for others. Habit is what you do when you've forgotten there was ever a choice. I made coffee quietly. The floor creaked under my feet. That house hated to keep secrets. I didn't plan to eavesdrop. I didn't need to. Kaylee's voice carried down the hall, sharp and careless, full of that brittle pride teenage girls wear like armor. I said it on purpose. A pause, then laughter too loud for morning. He needed to know his place. The real dad would have laughed. Silence. Then another laugh, hers. Confident. Victorious. That was it. Not the words themselves, those were just confirmation. No anger. No shame. Just certainty. Like she'd rehearsed it. Like the joke the night before was just act one of something bigger. She knew I'd heard her. She wanted me to. That's the part that stung. They never really forget you're in the house. They just stop caring. I stood still in the hallway. My mug steamed in my hand, untouched. Could have walked in. I could have said something. Raised my voice. Demanded respect. Forced a confrontation. But I didn't. Because when a door has been slammed enough times, you don't knock anymore. You just stop entering. I turned back toward my office. Sat at the desk I'd spent hundreds of hours at. Late-night deadlines, tax season, tutoring Lucas when Aaron was too tired. And I started quietly stepping out of the life I was never allowed to claim. First, the insurance portal. Family plan, remove dependents. Kaylee Hart, remove. Lucas Hart, remove. The system asked if I was sure. I was. Then the car insurance. Lucas's leased sedan. The one Aaron insisted we help him get to feel independent. Cancel autopay. Change primary account holder. Notify dealership of cosigner withdrawal. Next, the health and dental services. I went account by account. Clinic. Dentist. Orthodontist. Kaylee's therapy sessions. Every place where my name existed solely for billing purposes, I deleted it. No warning. No calls. No drama. Just a quiet rollback. Like closing open tabs on a browser. Some of the platforms gave automated warnings. Are you sure? This action cannot be undone. I confirmed them all. By noon, I had removed myself from every service, every portal, every invisible thread they thought would stay tied forever. Not out of spite, out of clarity. See, there's a moment where a man realizes he's not just being ignored, he's being harvested. They don't need your love. They need your labor. And once you stop producing, once you stop funding, once the engine sputters and dies, they simply replace you. Or worse, pretend you were never there. Erin came into the office just after lunch. She didn't notice the stack of printed statements on the desk. She had her phone in hand. Kaylee had texted her something. Probably a joke. Probably about me. She kissed my cheek without looking. "You okay?" I said yes. Because what else was there to say? "I heard your daughter mocking me and you smiled like it was nothing?" No, I wasn't okay. But I was awake. And that counted for something. That night, I didn't join them for dinner. I stayed in the office, lights off, the glow of my laptop screen reflecting off tax forms and login pages. They didn't come ask where I was. Not Aaron. Not Kaylee. Not Lucas. I was only noticeable when I was needed. The next morning, the first crack formed. Kaylee slammed her bedroom door. Twice. I heard her arguing over the phone. Short, clipped phrases. "They said I wasn't covered." "No, I have insurance." "Try again. It has to be a mistake." Then silence. She didn't come to me. She went to Aaron. 10 minutes later, Aaron knocked on my office door. Not softly, like she was already angry. I opened it. Her voice was low, strained, like she was trying to stay calm but failing. Did you change Kaylee's coverage?" I looked her in the eye. "Yes." She blinked. Like the answer wasn't supposed to be that easy. Like she'd braced herself for a lie, not the truth. "Why?" she asked. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't stand. I said it the way you read instructions on the side of a box. She said the real dad would love her joke. Figured the real dad should also love the bills. Erin opened her mouth, then shut it. She didn't deny what Kaylee said. She didn't apologize either. She just stepped back into the hallway like it had gotten smaller. Lucas was next. He came downstairs looking pale. Said something about his insurance portal not letting him sign in. Said the car dealership had called. Said they needed a payment. I was calm. "Not my car." His eyebrows drew together. "But I co-signed. You made the payments. But that's not my car, Lucas. Never was." He didn't argue. Just left the room. Later that evening, Erin came to me again. Her tone was different now. Not angry, just confused. "You can't do this, Daniel." I met her gaze. "I didn't do anything. I stopped doing what you all said didn't matter." She tried to bring up the kids. How they were stressed. How this wasn't fair to them. "They're just kids," she said. I nodded. "Then maybe it's time their father, real father, steps up." Her face twisted at that. She didn't like hearing it turn back on her. But I didn't stop there. I listed it all out. The school payments. The medical plans. The leases. The allowance transfers. The back-to-school shopping lists. The after-school programs. The digital subscriptions. The sports camps. The tutoring. Not to shame them. To catalog it. Because no one else had. I wanted her to hear every item. Every cent. Every act of invisible fatherhood that never earned me the right to be called dad. By the time I was done, she looked tired. Not guilty. Not sorry. Just tired. She said, "Let's talk about this later." Later. Like it was a scheduling conflict. Like I was just overwhelmed. Like I would forget again. But I didn't forget. I had remembered too much. She left the room. The door didn't close all the way. I stared at it for a long time. Half open. Half shut. Exactly how they wanted me. It started just after 8 a.m. Kaylee's scream cut through the house like glass. Not fear, rage. I was sitting in the kitchen, sipping coffee. I'd been up for hours. The window was cracked, letting in the sharp breath of early spring. I remember thinking how quiet the neighborhood was. Then her voice shattered it all. "What do you mean I can't be seen?" Another pause, then the stomp of footsteps overhead. "No, that's not right. My stepdad has the policy. Check again. Hart. Daniel Hart." I didn't move. Erin came in seconds later, robe still half open, face pale with sleep. "What's going on?" I didn't answer. I just pointed toward the stairs with my mug. "She's finding out." Erin's mouth twitched like she was about to scold me. But she didn't. She went up instead. The next voice belonged to Lucas. His tone wasn't angry, just confused. Dull. Sleep heavy. "My insurance app says I'm not listed anymore." He was in the doorway, phone in hand, frowning. Did something glitch? No. I didn't even look at him. His voice dropped. Wait, you did this? I stopped paying for things that belong to someone else's children. Silence. Then retreating steps. Upstairs, Kaylee was still fighting the clinic on speakerphone. Her voice cracked with desperation. I don't care what the file says. This is a mistake. He pays for everything. He has to. Not he's my dad. Not we're family. Just he pays for everything. That's what I was to her. An account number. A living password. I stood from the table. Poured the rest of the coffee down the drain. By the time Erin came back downstairs, her voice had changed. It wasn't a wife's voice. It was the voice of a negotiator. Okay, she said, arms crossed, trying to sound measured. This has clearly gone too far. I nodded. It has. You can't just drop everything like that. You're hurting them. No. I looked her dead in the eye. I just stopped absorbing the damage. She stepped closer, voice dropping to a near whisper. Daniel, you're punishing the kids for being immature. I'm refusing to be punished for trusting them. I walked past her, into the hallway, into my office. 10 minutes later, the group chat started buzzing. Lucas sent a message. Why is my bank card frozen? Kaylee. Mom says you took me off the car insurance. WTH? Erin, we need to talk. Now. In person. Not like this. I didn't reply. I watched the words pile up, one after the other. Frantic. Confused. Demanding. And not once. Not once. Was there a message that read, "We're sorry." Kaylee tried a new tactic that afternoon. Came down to the living room wearing her most casual smile, holding her phone like a prop. Hey, she said. So, I get it. That joke was kinda messed up. Not I'm sorry. Just I get it. She hovered by the couch. Didn't sit. Didn't ask. Just waited. I looked at her. You said I needed to know my place. I listened. Her smile faded. You don't have to be like this. I'm not being anything, I said. I'm simply not being your wallet anymore. She blinked. The line hit harder than she expected. And she left. By dinner time, Erin tried again. Can we please sit down? She said. This family's falling apart. I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was the first time she'd said family with me in it. I didn't sit. I stayed leaning against the counter, arms crossed. It didn't fall apart, I said. It was never built. She closed her eyes, whispered, You don't mean that. I do. You let them treat me like a stranger. You watched it happen. You told me to be patient while they built a tower on my back. You called that family. I called it survival. She shook her head. So what now? You're just gone? I'm here, I said. I just stopped paying to exist in a place where I don't matter. That night, Lucas knocked on my office door. He hadn't knocked in over a year. He opened it without waiting. You're seriously gonna let my insurance lapse? He asked. I didn't look up. It's already lapsed. I need my car. I need to get to class. Then call your father. He stared at me like I'd slapped him. You know he won't help, he said quietly. That's not my problem anymore. He left without slamming the door. That was new. Around midnight, I heard Erin crying in the bathroom. The door was locked. She didn't ask me in. She didn't want comfort. She wanted reversal. But reversal cost something. I'd already paid enough. The next morning, the kitchen was silent. No one spoke. No phones at the table. Kaylee looked at me once, then looked away. Lucas didn't even glance up. Erin drank her coffee like it had betrayed her. Finally, she broke. I don't know what you want from us. I set my mug down gently. Respect, I said. And if I can't have that, then distance. She stood, stormed out. Not angry, not heartbroken, just tired. They were all tired now. But I wasn't. For the first time in 5 years, I felt wide awake. That evening, Lucas came home with a flat tire. The car sat crooked in the driveway. He knocked again, softer this time. Can you help? He asked. I looked out the window at the car. Then I looked at him. You said I wasn't your father, I said. Remember that next time you need one. He didn't argue. He just stepped back into the night. Kaylee was next. Her college portal had locked her out. Unpaid registration fees. She sent Aaron to ask. Aaron's voice was low. Just for this semester. Just until she figures things out. No, I said. She's scared, Aaron said. So was I said. For 5 years. No reply. Just the sound of someone realizing they'd run out of excuses. That night, Aaron didn't come to bed. Kaylee cried in her room. Lucas stayed in the driveway with the hood of the car open. And I sat in silence, feeling the weight of everything I had carried. And everything I'd finally set down. The silence didn't come all at once. It arrived in pieces. First, the group chat went quiet. Then the footsteps around the house grew softer, slower. No more shouted requests from the hallway. No more late-night fridge raids. No more Kaylee screaming on calls or Lucas stomping up the stairs. Silence filled the house like fog. Not peaceful. Just heavy. Aaron stopped asking. She started avoiding. She made dinner, but stopped calling everyone to eat. She left plates covered in foil and disappeared into the bedroom. Kaylee grabbed hers and ate with her earbuds in. Lucas took his to the garage. I didn't eat at the table. We had become 4 ghosts haunting the same space, pretending we didn't notice each other. But they noticed, because need always notices absence. A week after it started, I packed a single suitcase and drove west. Didn't slam the door. Didn't leave a note. Just took my keys and my silence and left the others behind. The hotel was nothing special. Small, cheap, clean. Just off the highway near La Crosse. The kind of place no one stays in for long, which made it perfect. I needed stillness more than comfort. I needed the absence of them. Not because I hated them, but because I finally believed they didn't see me. Not truly. Every man has a limit. Mine wasn't a scream or a slap. It was a quiet phone call to the front desk. Yes. I'd like to extend my stay another week. Erin didn't call right away. She texted 2 days in. Where are you? I didn't answer. She didn't follow up. 3 more days passed. Then Kaylee messaged. Your name's still listed on FAFSA. They said it's messing up my aid. That was it. No hello. No apology. Just a problem I needed to fix. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I blocked her. Lucas tried a different angle. I know I was a jerk. I just need to get back on the road. I can pay you back. I didn't answer, because I'd heard that line before. 5 years of I'll do better, I promise. 5 years of conditional effort. 5 years of being useful but not valued. A week later, Erin called. I picked up. Her voice was tight, tired, stretched thin like a rubber band one pull away from snapping. I told them to call their father, she said. Did they? I asked. Yes. He hung up on Lucas. Kaylee got his voicemail. I said nothing. She waited. Then, Daniel, we're struggling without you. I breathed slowly, evenly. I know. Still not a word about regret. Not a whisper of apology. Just the message behind her voice. Come back and fix it. That's when it all became clear. I hadn't left a family. I'd left a system. A machine I was meant to power with money, time, and patience, without voice, without credit, without recognition. They didn't miss me. They missed what I did. I let the silence stretch. She finally hung up. After that, the messages changed. They weren't frantic anymore. They were calculated. Professional. Daniel, it's Erin. I'm requesting your confirmation to update Kaylee's insurance info. Please respond within 48 hours or I'll assume the current plan is final. Lucas has submitted a name change request at the dealership. They need your signature to remove you from the contract. I ignored them all. The consequences began to fall like dominoes. Kaylee couldn't register for classes. Lucas missed payments. The car got towed. Their father was unreachable. Erin took a second job. She didn't tell me. I found out when a mutual friend mentioned seeing her at a grocery store on a Thursday night, bagging produce. The irony? I wasn't angry, not proud either. Just detached. This wasn't revenge. This was subtraction. Take the weight off a mule's back and what's left? Just a man walking away. I started sleeping better. No slamming doors. No requests. No indirect insults framed as jokes. Just silence. One morning, I walked down to the riverbank behind the hotel. The sun was rising slow, gold streaking across the water. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like a stranger in my own life. They had always acted like I didn't belong. Now I finally agreed. Weeks passed. Kaylee sent one last message from a new number. You could have just said you didn't love us. I stared at it for a long time, then typed, I did love you. That's why I left. Then I deleted the message. She wouldn't understand it. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Because love without respect isn't love. The servitude. And I had served long enough. At some point, Aaron stopped messaging. Stopped calling. Stopped trying. And that was the final confirmation. Because if I mattered, not what I provided, but me, she wouldn't have stopped. Not unless she believed I was finally gone. And I was.